Welcome to Faith in Vegas, presented by KEEN TV 17, a program to inspire and inform our viewers about the unique community in which we live.
Hi, and welcome to this week's Faith in Vegas. I'm your host, David Lee. But before we begin this week's episode, I would like to give a special thanks to our last guest, Pastor Godwin Ezeki. He gave us a great message on healing that was very inspiring. If you missed the three-part series, please check it out on YouTube under KEEN TV Las Vegas /Faith in Vegas. For this week's episode, we'll be speaking with Tiffany Anderson. She is an amazing person who has an incredible testimony to share here on Faith in Vegas. Welcome to Faith in Vegas. I'm your host, David Lee, and today we have Tiffany Anderson, creator of Jave Gold. Tiffany, thanks for being on the show.
You're welcome, David. It's good to be here.
This is an amazing product, I gotta be honest with you.
Thank you.
You actually let me try this, and
Yes,
it works.
Yes, it does.
Now, if I'm not wrong, is it true that these actually were spawned from a horrific moment in your life?
You know what they were. It took a little time to get to this point, but I believe that everything I've been through in my life has actually led to this moment, which is the creation of the Jave Gold skincare line and my book, Finding Faith. So it's kind of been the whole walk that I've been through my whole life that's really, I finally have really been able to focus and turn it into something very positive. Where
did it start?
It's actually the skincare line started in Las Vegas. I've been here for about 11 years now.
Mm-hmm.
As far as the whole history of how I got here started really from a car accident that I was in at the age of 15.
Tell us about that.
So at 15, I was in this horrific car accident, and I flew through the car windshield at 65 miles an hour on the freeway.
Wow.
And I broke my back in 3 places, I broke my hip in 3 places, my pelvic in 5, multiple other injuries. I was a mess, to say the least.
Wow, all those injuries?
Yes.
So you actually had to learn how to walk all over again.
I did. I had to learn how to walk all over again. The doctors, in fact, told my mom that I would never walk again. So that was quite traumatic at that time, and it took about 6 months of recovery, major surgeries, multiple, they had Harrington rods in my back that were arched backwards, so I had to have a spinal cord specialist come in and fix that mess, and it was quite traumatic what I went through at that very young age.
What were the thought processes behind everything that you were going through? What was your mental state like?
At that time, my mental state was not good. I had several issues that I was dealing with during the accident that didn't involve the actual accident, but relationship issues that I was going through, which can be quite traumatic for a 15-year-old on top of fighting for your life, So it took a really long time to recover from that accident. And I would say I didn't really get fully recovered internally, emotionally from the scars that were caused during that accident for about 15 years. Physically, I learned to rebuild my body. It took a couple years, but I learned to rebuild my body and started working out and exercising, and so that was fine, but I really didn't get into emotional healing for about 15 years after the accident.
So while you're building the outside, you didn't feel like it was enough?
Well, I felt like building the outside or recovering from physically was the only thing that mattered. I felt like that if I just blacked out or pushed down, blocked out basically everything that happened to me emotionally, that I would be fine. But as we know now that that's usually one of the causes of cancer and different things that people get is storing emotion and not dealing with things. So I only cared about what I looked like. I was 15, I looked horrific when I got out of that accident. So I really got into just working out and focused on that. And I ended up getting married at a young age to my first husband. And we kind of lived a life of leisure. And that was a good thing because it again took my mind off some emotional things that happened. But the truth of it was that I never really healed internally, and so therefore it carried over into every part of my life. And I ended up divorced to my first husband at the age of about 28. And it was about that same time that the doctors told me that I was going to be medicated for the rest of my life. They put me on about 5 major narcotics. 5 major narcotics. Yes, so I had a reason for every minute of the day to basically be drugged. And that was really no way to live at the age of 28. You know, that's, to me, that was a death sentence to have someone say that.
So what was the tipping point to make you want to go internally versus?
There were a couple tipping points. I think one of them for me was basically when my mom died, she actually passed away of cancer, and that was a tipping point to almost a nervous breakdown. And during that time, I had met my husband, who I'm married to now, Tony Anderson, and he really helped to lead me back to Christ, which was much needed in my life at that time. And so that leading back to Christ literally was my aha moment of everything happens for a reason, and I can turn this into something positive if I want to, or I can choose to continue to let it kill me, which it was going to do. And when you have tragedy happen, you know, you either do two things in life. You either fight to overcome it and do something better, or you let it take you down and you die, you know, at a young age, miserable and sad. And I was unfortunately going down the latter path, but I had decided to choose the good path and say, I'm gonna fight and make this something positive. So I started journaling at that time about the things that happened to me, not really thinking I was gonna write a book, but in fact, I did write a book called Finding Faith. Yeah. So it's my memoir, and then it was about that time, and I didn't actually finish the book till many years later, but I started it. It was about that time when I really felt like emotionally I was healed. Like, thank you, God, I've come through this. Mm-hmm. I see the beauty in life. You know, I see that you took me through every step of the way. I can walk, so, you know, I shouldn't be feeling sorry for myself, because many people go through what I went through and they don't walk again, and that is so tragic.
And that was just the start of a series of tragedies that struck your life, right?
Yes, it was.
Oh my gosh. You know what? We got to hear more of that, but right now we got to take a quick break.
No problem.
And we will be right back. Welcome back to Faith in Vegas with our special guest, Tiffany Anderson. Now, before we left off, we were about to talk about the tragedies that happened in your life.
Yes.
So let's start with that. And I know that it started with a car accident, but what else happened?
Well, after the car accident, you know, and the 15 years of recovery that I really had to go through for that, I think where we were leaving off was that I had, you know, really learned to repair the inside of my emotional issues, I guess you could say. And it was about that time when I really felt that I was connected with God and things were going good in my life again. It was right about that time that I was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer.
Oh,
so, I know.
Oh, things were doing so great. You were just recovering, and all of a sudden, bam, you're back down.
That's exactly how it felt. You know, it was like. So then that was a kind of a wake-up moment for how do we really repair the body? Because although I went through massive chemo and radiation, since it was stage 4, and I was rushed to the emergency room with a collapsed lung and the other one partially collapsed, massive tumor in my chest. You know, we really believed in a lot of nutritional therapies and holistic therapies. And it was at that time that my husband, Tony Anderson, who I've been married to now for, I think, almost 15 years now. Wow. It was about that time that he really started researching natural therapies. He was trying to do everything he could do to save my life. So we started doing a lot of holistic things as well as the chemo and the radiation. And what was interesting, David, was as I was coming through that, we learned so much on how to repair the body internally that by the time I was done with the stage 4 cancer, I did not need pharmaceutical drugs for any of the arthritis pain or anything that I had. So I really learned how to repair the body internally, and I've been off pharmaceuticals ever since, and I have more energy, I feel more vibrant. It has changed my life. What I learned, so I look at the cancer as a blessing because it really taught me how to deal with what happened to me in the accident. Before, I didn't know how to take certain herbs for inflammation, so I was taking a pharmaceutical to numb the pain. But numbing the pain is not repairing the damage. And my body cannot take pharmaceutical drugs because I have partial paralyzation to my lymphatic system, so I can't filter those things out. So the cancer taught me how to detox, how to really eat right, how to repair, you know, the internal damage that was basically killing me. It would have killed me at a young age. I mean, I was near death, so.
Wow, and Tony, he's a pretty fit guy too, right?
Yes, he is.
Yeah,
Yes, yeah. He's.
I've
Yeah.
met him.
Yeah.
And you said he actually helped you with this.
He did, yes. He's actually got his degrees in nutrition as well. Now this actually helped spawn it. He really wanted to save my life. You know, we were so newly married, and I think we were only married for a couple years, and it was like, boom, now you got to go through this cancer, you know. So he did everything he could to really help research different therapies. We followed the advice of Dr. Lorraine Day and a lot of amazing doctors out there that have just done some great therapies that have really, I still use them today. And so I now want to give back to the people and say, hey, this is what I did. Because I did a lot of things that people maybe haven't heard of. You know, apricot seeds, Essiac tea, ozone therapy. I did a lot of alternative therapies. And later in my life, I'd say, like, I've been an esthetician my whole life. So later in my life, I started realizing people need to know about these therapies. And how can I get the word out about certain things that I really truly believe in a powerful way? And so for me, it was very no-brainer. I'm going to create a skincare line and use some of these therapies that have been amazing for me.
Wow, you know what? I'm actually shocked with all the tragedies and the pain that you went through. But you know what? There is a light at the end of the tunnel.
Yes,
and you know what? We're going to talk about that after the break.
Sounds good.
All right. We'll see you in a bit. And we're back with Faith in Vegas with our wonderful guest, Tiffany Anderson.
Thank you, David.
Tiffany, you wrote an amazing book, an award-winning book.
Yes, it won an award through the largest book publisher in the nation, which was Xulon Christian Press. So I'm pretty proud of that one.
Now, what can people expect to take away from your book?
You know what? I think that my book, Finding Faith, will reach almost anyone. I really do. I say that because anyone who has suffered any kind of a catastrophic injury will definitely be able to relate. Anyone who's lost anyone from cancer will relate, and cancer is an epidemic, so I think nearly everyone knows someone who's suffered from cancer. Anyone who's ever had cancer themselves will be able to relate. Anyone who's ever lost someone that they loved so much they thought it was going to kill them, is that they'll be able to relate with that as well. And anyone who's suffered with pharmaceutical drugs and, you know, taking them for a reason that you didn't want to have to take them, where you felt like it was literally killing your life. So I think a lot of people are going to be able to relate to the book, but I think the best part about the book is, yes, all of those things are there, and so an array of people will be able to relate to those tragedies. And I detail all of those tragedies for a reason so that people can feel drawn to the book.
Yeah, you talk about how there are these tragedies that happen, and God somehow turned it into something beautiful. Let's talk about that.
So thank you for bringing that up. So that's exactly why I wanted to write it, is because I didn't actually start off writing it thinking this was going to be a book. I started off writing it as therapy to heal myself emotionally. What happened through the process was that I saw the beauty in life. I saw that God was always with me. I saw how much He blessed me through everything that I went through. And I saw all of that with such fresh eyes. It became so powerful to me, I felt that I had to then share it with whoever wants to listen. So in the end, which it's really never the end, it's still a work in progress always, but in the end, I really believe that anyone who is searching for something better in this world is going to be able to connect to this book. And it really was about me finding my own search and my own walk with God, finding a love of my life, someone that I could believe in again, and learning how to repair that mind, body, soul, the whole thing. So I'd repaired my body, I repaired the emotion, and I repaired my soul. So for me, I felt complete when I did that.
Wow. Wow. Now, Tiffany, the audience is probably looking at this like, when is she going to talk about that? When is she going to talk about it? What is that stuff? It's the stuff that makes me look good, makes you look good, makes everybody look good.
Thank you, David.
So, just a little bit of a taste. Talk about just a little bit of what we have right here.
Okay. Well, Jave Gold was basically the creation of my life's history work as a medical esthetician for over 20 years. I have always worked with botanical elements, and so I've always had a skincare line that incorporated different botanical elements. I've always been searching for certain elements that would help restore the body. And ironically, I would say, not ironically necessarily, but probably from God. God always was like finished with one thing, moving to the next, and he does it quite quickly in my life. So the week that I finished the book, I was introduced to some elements that were very intriguing, and one of which was purified liquid gold.
Liquid gold, like the stuff we wear?
Well, liquid gold, like 24 karat gold nuggets. The difference with this liquid gold is it's been so purified that it's metal free. So there's no metal in the final formulation. It's only the vital living minerals of the gold that you're left with. This purification process takes time to extract these living minerals. In fact, it takes nearly 30 years to get where we're at today with our purified liquid gold. So the group of scientists that I met that had this process, like I said, I heard the story of this liquid gold purified like a fine wine, and I hired a clinical pharmacist to validate the studies, of course. And the clinical pharmacist that I hired specializes in cosmetic chemistry, so he was perfect to be able to say, yes, this stuff is real, and it would be phenomenal in a skincare. Over in Europe, it's currently used, and it's widely accepted over there as alternative medicine, and in fact, Western medicine over in Europe accepts it as well. So it was very interesting to read the studies on what this purified gold was doing for people internally. So I wanted to translate that into something that I could share with the public, which for me, it was the skincare. So we have purified liquid gold, minerals, metal-free, which is a key point because most products on the line, on the market right now that contain what they call liquid gold, is actually a colloidal or nanoparticle process. That is basically just tiny ground down pieces of metal in a liquid solution put into a skincare. Now, common sense tells you metal is not bioavailable for the body. So your skin cannot absorb metal. What it can absorb is the minerals from the gold. So that's the key difference in what our gold is, and it's very unique. I'm super excited to have it.
My goodness, gold. I know that not everything here is gold. There's a lot more to it, a little bit more elements that these people don't even know about. Tell us a little bit about that.
That's true. Well, the uniqueness of our gold is definitely one of the things that's putting us on the map. But we also use things like ozone, medical grade ozone, and we use purified cell salts that have been purified like a fine wine as well. We use omega oils and that are derived from organic free-range egg yolks, and then that's actually what we ozonate. So I think all of our elements that make up the proprietary blend are so unique that the public should know what these elements are, because although we don't take our skincare internally, each one of these elements can be taken internally. And in fact, I have taken them all internally, and they've all been life-changing to me. But they translate for our skincare into a topical serum, which is super nutrients. So no different than using Ossie or goji berry or all the other amazing things that we have in our skincare, it's the same thing. It's super nutrients that get absorbed to the deepest level of the epidermis.
Okay, good. Stop you right there because I think there's a lot more, and we need to know about this.
Yes.
But we're going to talk about it next week.
Sounds good.
All right, sounds good. But before we go, let's find out how we can get this book.
Well, you can get the book through going to javegold.com, and the book and the skincare will both be there.
All right. Thank you, Tiffany.
Thank you, David.
And we'll see you next week here on Faith in Vegas. I'm David Lee. Aloha. Wasn't that a powerful message from Tiffany Anderson? So inspirational, so blessed, so please come back next week for a two-part series on our special guest, Tiffany Anderson. Thanks for watching. Aloha.
Thanks for watching Faith in Vegas, a presentation of KEEN TV 17. We hope you've enjoyed today's program, and we'd love to hear your comments and suggestions for the show. You can contact KEEN TV 17 at the address on the screen.